Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelstone. It's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew, Keith Johnson.
In!
And Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
And Alan couldn't join us this week, but this week we're going to be talking about Forbidden Planet.
Yay.
This is great. Classic.
Do we have any This Week in Trek this week?
This is kind of old hat for us now, but this was one of the first films to portray the alien threat, not as an external alien, but coming from within. Obviously, you can think about science fiction and horror like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But in this case, we're actually looking at an alien planet, but the alien is not an alien monster. It's not the Krell. It's the enemy from within. Mm-hmm. And that was also something that was very revolutionary back in that time in 1956. Because you know the term BEM, right? BEM, bug-eyed monsters. We're still kind of in the days of bug-eyed monsters. So a science fiction film like this is definitely forward thinking. Mm-hmm. Another thing is this is a science fiction adaptation of The Tempest. Dr. Morbius represents Prospero, Altair is Miranda, and Robbie the robot as Ariel. So, also much in keeping with Star Trek, a decade later, this is a science fiction film that is based on classic literature, as in William Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this was a top-tier production for a science fiction film in 1956.
Absolutely.
And we'll get into more of that as we go along. But, I mean, across the board, this was an A-list picture.
Yes. Another thing, not a surprise, and Veronica, you probably noticed this, the Krell creature, which to my mind still holds up to this day, that animated bear-looking creature, obviously is Disney animation.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Disney was really good at stuff like that. I don't know about you, but it also puts me in mind of that vicious bull from The Last Unicorn, if you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah, The Last Unicorn or something out of Fantasia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. One more thing, for those of us who grew up watching stuff like Lost in Space and Twilight Zone, Robbie the robot is familiar. He was he was like the robot outside the robot from Lost in Space. In 1956, Robbie that robot cost $125,000 to build.
Wow.
For a science fiction movie.
Was that in money in their time or money in that much money in our time?
That's in their time.
Wow.
Yeah. $125,000, 1956 money to build a robot called Robbie.
Yeah, so what's that? Probably $1.5 million now almost?
Yeah, it's a lot. Of course, he appeared in so much stuff. He appeared in Twilight Zone. He appeared in Lost in Space. He became super famous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I always loved that they credited Robbie the robot as Robbie the robot, as if he was an actor in the film, introducing Robbie the robot. And then you see him in various other film roles. And I would love to do a podcast series or a book or a documentary following Robbie the robot's Hollywood career, the rise and fall of a Hollywood star.
Yes.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Two last things. The main designer and builder of the robot, he was actually on credit of Robbie. His name is Robert Kinoshita. And much like oh my God, why am I blanking? The guy who designed the Enterprise. Why am I blanking?
Matt Jeffries.
Matt Jeffries. He poured through literally thousands of drawings over 5 weeks, leading a 5-man team. And one of the prior influences on Kinoshita's work was he used to design washing machines.
Oh, wow.
So if you look at Robbie's body, then you can kind of see that kind of robot looking thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing, which is not trivia at all, it's just an observation that we all make. If you come into movies in a certain time of your life, in a certain period of your life, you will think of Leslie Nielsen as nothing but a goofy comedian from the Police Squad movies and all the other Mr. Magoo and so forth. I haven't seen this movie when I was like 7 and seen other Hollywood movies. I first came to Leslie Nielsen as a good-looking, square-jawed, kind of, prototypical starship commander like Captain Kirk. And it was decades later, when he embarked on his new comedy career, which lasted mostly for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But this was the Leslie Nielsen I knew.
Right. And it's pretty amazing the sort of latent career resurgence that he had and new career that he's known for now. Now it's surprising to see him in a straight role like this.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I've always said that William Shatner should have done the same in the 80s. They missed an opportunity by not leaning into William Shatner in more of a Leslie Nielsen type of roles, because I think he was very good at that sort of thing.
He really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a known that can do comedy and drama equally well.
Yeah. So, Veronica,
Yes.
As we started to say a moment ago, you just saw this movie for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
We established last week that you're the sort of person who doesn't like The Day the Earth Stood Still.
That is incorrect. It didn't grab me and it couldn't hold my attention. I did not dislike it.
So since you hated The Day the Earth Stood Still,
Oh, that's so funny.
what was your impression of Forbidden Planet just as a first-time viewer?
It was good. It definitely held my attention a lot better than The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Okay.
Probably because there was a little bit more action starting from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
There were definitely a lot of tropes of the time going on there. Like, oh, you be wearing that because you're gonna make all the guys go crazy. Like, really? But that was the time. That was the time. They didn't think about how it would be in the future, unlike Star Trek did later on.
But you know what, Veronica, I don't mean to cut you off, but real quick, I found something very interesting. At the beginning of the movie, the narrator said, which was funny, he said in the last decade of the 21st century, men and women went to the moon. So for the time, that was a big deal to even actually say men and women.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do still treat the crew of the C-57D like they're sailors, like World War II sailors in space.
Right.
Like, oh, the men haven't seen a woman in 18 months. You better put some clothes on. Which is jarring to watch in 2026. Yeah. Now, when I picked these two movies, I didn't think about the fact that it's an anniversary year for both of them. 75th for The Day the Earth Stood Still, and then the 70th anniversary this year for Forbidden Planet. Which is happenstance. Yeah, but it's amazing that we're talking about it 70 years later. But yeah, that's an element of the film that definitely jumps out at you watching it now.
Yeah.
So Veronica, I'm sorry, go ahead, Charles.
Go right ahead.
I was going to say, Veronica, you were also saying that it was, you were mentioning that it held your attention better than The Day the Earth Stood Still. And what else were your first thoughts when you first saw it?
I think because there were more characters that seemed more engaging, whereas in The Day the Earth Stood Still, there was the boy and his mom and the alien guy. And I felt like that was kind of it. So I felt like because there were more characters interacting, and there was still kind of like basically 3 or 4 main characters, but there was more in the other characters. So it felt a little bit more like an ensemble piece. And then I felt like things were happening, and it was also on an alien planet. So there was, they kind of sort of had some alien things going on. And I really enjoyed the tour of the Krell. Was that right?
Yeah.
Hey, look at me remember things. I think one of you guys said it earlier though, so that's not that much remembering. And their little device thing that he used and showed off to them, being like, haha, I'm smarter than you.
There are a couple times in the movie where Morbius sort of stops the film to do this sort of like Walt Disney-esque, like, let me give you a tour of things that will be important in this film later. You see here.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that, Charles, because a couple times he would talk and he would kind of go, and almost like you're right, exactly like he was Walt Disney or somebody giving a live tour. I mean, he even kind of scratched the side of his face one time. So it was kind of cool that he did that. So Veronica, it's always interesting when I hear people like you who see something like this for the first time. I have an analogy in that I saw Gaslight in my 30s, and I saw Pulp Fiction like 10 years after it came out. And so you'll see a movie like that, and you can't be surprised because everything in the movie, like the term gaslight or everything in Pulp Fiction, it becomes part of popular culture, whether you've seen it or not. So was there anything in this movie that surprised you? Because look, you've got fashion light travel, you've got the term hyperdrive, you've got a flying saucer, you got some kind of weird decelerating force field, which they also had in Lost in Space. You had Robbie the Robot. So was anything new to you at all in this movie?
Not really. I mean, like, I watched Star Trek, so a lot of the same type of stuff was in Star Trek. So not terribly. And there were some things that were not in Star Trek but were in Stargate, like the mind device. I don't remember something like that being in Star Trek, but I know something like that was in Stargate with the thing that like over O'Neill's head.
Well, you
and
did have
downloaded the
you
content.
did have the thing on the Morgan Imorg planet that
Yeah, the
let
teacher
Dr.
of knowledge.
let Dr. McCoy learn how to put a brain back in Spock.
The 3 hours.
Right. I think, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think this is the first film where the flying saucer was built and manned by humans. It wasn't an alien flying saucer. And they treat it as commonplace, as if it's, you know, like I said, like a Navy cruiser, and they're just out, you know, doing their mission. And that was something that hadn't been done before up to that point. But there's a lot of special effects in this movie that I think hold up very, very well. And I commented while we were watching. You mentioned the Disney animators, right? And obviously, you know, the creature from the Id is a big example of them. But even things like the ray guns and things like the blasts, I commented to Veronica, like, these blasts look better than the ones in Star Wars, which was 20 years later.
I agree.
And it has that hand-drawn touch to it, you know, and the extra little details of the care that you get from someone hand animating it like that.
Yeah, and for those of us who grew up watching things like, I think I agree with you, Charles, because for those of us who grew up watching things like the original Star Trek series, like The Cage and Menagerie, I to this day I love matte paintings that are done well, and they have a really good. The only thing they didn't get, which almost nobody somehow seems to get, is they never seem to get the proportions of the humans versus their ship right when they're right up next to the ship. Yeah. But I agree with you. I was looking.
I think that's in part because they can only build a ship so big.
Yeah.
You know,
and they should have shown less of the
like
ship.
a physical prop.
Yeah. But I agree with you. It looks good. It absolutely holds up. I'm looking at now. You can. And here's the thing: a lot of things that are quote unquote modern, they look cool because now we call it what, retro futuristic.
Right.
So you look at the Cruella machine, and you can tell it was designed by people who have the 1940s and 1950s aesthetic. That doesn't date the movie though. It just looks cool. Yeah. And a flying saucer, that works.
Yeah. And like Morbius's house is very like mid-century modern.
Yes.
Right. A lot of those styles have come back around since then.
Right. And even Anne Francis's clothes, Altair. I mean, Star Trek did that a lot. You know, what do? If you want something to look futuristic, make it look like, I don't know, Rome or ancient Greece or something like that. It works, and you're fine. You
but throw some silver in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I was, Veronica was had to deal with my audio commentary the whole time, but like even like
he paused at first though.
That's true. Like the matte painting that's behind them, that's physically on set. That's a giant hand painted painting, but as a result, you don't have the weird chroma issues and matte lines and things that you would have if it was made in, say, the 80s. You know what I mean? Or the green screen issues that you would have. Even some movies from like the 2000s look weird now because of the green screen, and so how some modern movies do. But they're able to move the camera and push in and pull out and pan left and right, and you don't have any they're able to do that because the background is physically there on set. And it's magnificent matte paintings in this movie.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, Veronica, we were guessing about, just real quick, we were guessing about $10 for 1956. I looked it up. Dollar 1956 is worth $12 today. So that means that Robbie cost $1.8 million to make into today's money for a science fiction movie in the 50s.
Well, they got their money's worth out of it. If you amortize that cost across all the productions he appeared in, it was a steal.
Yes. Charlie, you said something I thought was very interesting. Was in some ways almost more than Star Trek. This is absolutely a military feeling show or the people. I love the way they call him Skipper. They do something that Star Trek didn't do, other than in the Abrams verse movies. They wear hats, like little military. They got little hats on. Again, Leslie Nielsen, completely against type for what people know about him later. He's that square jawed, kind of hard edged captain. Like, I loved it when he called his men on the carpet for what he thought was sleeping through guard duty, because when the monster first got through. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty cool how he handled that. And another thing I really like about it is I'm always talking about science and how accurate stuff is, but more so than it's something quote unquote accurate, I like it when the world builds an internally consistent in-universe science. Because it's not, look, like Stargate and Star Trek, there's stuff that I don't think we'll ever have, but it's internally consistent. I love the way they talked about the fact it took them 18 months to get to the planet, and they used hyperdrive. And then they talked about how they decelerated below light speed. They were still going like 33% of the speed of light. I thought that was really cool. And I love the fact that in a science fiction movie, they took the time to say, hey, we've got to build a communication system that can violate it was like go through the continuum, like it's basically subspace radio, but we don't have the power. So we basically got to take the engine out and hook it up, send the message and put it back.
Yeah. The chief's like, I can build you a radio, but I got to take this ship apart to do it. It's going to take me 10 days. But it's like if you're in a Navy ship and you're on an island somewhere, and it's not an easy thing. Like it's not flipping a switch to talk to Earth. It's a big deal. And it dramatically it creates the opportunity for them to be there on the planet and sort of increase the tension as well.
Right. And that's what the original Star Trek was all about, because how many times in Star Trek did they say Kirk got to make a major decision, and they say the subspace message to Starfleet will take days or weeks. So we're on our own. We've got to do this. We've got to make our own decisions.
Yeah, or like at the end of Balance of Terror, where it's like you got permission to cross the border. Like, great.
Right.
I'm gonna grab some comments real quick.
Okay.
Wayne's with us, Tiger Blade
Hey,
2002, and says, "Hello, I'm back from the id." Bill's here and said hi. Bill also asked about seeing all of the comments, and right now all of our commenters, I believe, are commenting from YouTube. But yeah, there is also a Facebook version. Now, the version that you see in our Facebook group was shared from YouTube. But we'll throw the comments on the screen if
and I went in on my phone and told him that it shows up on the YouTube, at least for my phone.
Bill went on to say, "Hey, I'm not the only one who still says adaptation. I've noted usage seems to be shifting to adaption, which is okay and shorter."
It's wrong.
Wow.
Wayne says, "I think $100,000 would earn you a billing in a movie." He also said, "I decided to look up where the human technology in Forbidden Planet rated on the Kardashev scale. It was interesting to find out they were still type 0, and the Krell were rated at type 1+ to 2.
What is the Kardashev?
It's a rating of like technology.
Yeah, the Kardashev scale, it's a thing where they say they rate a civilization. Kardashev is this guy who rated what a civilization would be like in terms of technology. And type 1, which I disagree with that assessment, Wayne. Type 1 is a civilization has learned to utilize every single bit of energy on their planet. As in, we would, for example, have like all nuclear. We would have nuclear. We would have molten lava things. We would probably have nuclear fusion. That's a type 1. A type 2 has learned to utilize every single bit of energy from their sun. Just like that. Now you're jumping to the sphere, Dyson spheres, and so forth. Sphere. Yeah, then they go up to type 3, which is every single bit of thing in your solar system, and then every single bit in your galaxy. So you start getting the godhood. We are right now, most people estimate something like 0.6 to 0.7.
Yeah. We ain't nothing.
Right.
Bill says, "I finally got to see Forbidden Planet about 18 years ago. Loved it. Did a lot of star spotting, such as The Cook, later in Policewoman with Angie Dickinson.
Earl Holliman, yes.
Yep. Also in the first episode of The Twilight Zone. Where is everybody?"
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Which is a weird Twilight Zone episode, by the way.
Yeah. Either Big's Trek or Big GS Trek says, "Worth every penny." And thank you for, it's Big's Trek, looking at the photo there. Thank you for joining us, Big's Trek. And Mark's back. Welcome back, Mark. Says, "Frankly, the book says no."
No? To what?
I don't remember what we were talking about when he was responding to that.
Yeah,
sorry,
that was like 5 minutes ago.
I had to play a little catch up with the comments there. My apologies.
The comment about... I'm sorry, go ahead, Charles.
No, I think that largely this movie holds up very well from a production standpoint. Considering it's 70 years old, and it's because of the care that was put into the film, right? Obviously, there's a lot of robots of that era that don't hold up as well, and there was a lot of sci-fi of that era that doesn't hold up as well because the level of care and attention wasn't put into it.
Right.
Oh, and Mark was referring to the radio transmitter.
Oh, I did get a chuckle when they were talking, like you were saying, Chuck, they were talking about all this sophisticated technology. And then here we go again. Dr. Rudy Wells from the $6 Million Man holds up what looked like a bunch of copper tubing. It's like, oh man, we can't replace this. I'm like, dude, it's copper tube.
Right. Right. You know what? I learned something today. I was pulling up the IMDb just to have it ready, so in case I forget names and that sort of thing. I didn't realize that George D. Wallace, aka Commander Cody from Radar Men from the Moon, is in this movie. He's playing the bosun.
Oh, really?
Freaking Commando Cody's in this movie, and he's just like a minor guy. And he was just the star of Commando Cody a few years earlier, which I guess goes to show like the level of production this is, as opposed to something like Radar Men from the Moon. But I thought it was wild. I was like, imagine being on set and you're like the bosun. Like, I'm freaking Commando Cody, you guys. Why am I the freaking bosun?
Yeah. And also, while you say that, I was going to mention the fact that they're using the term bosun in this show was also pretty cool. Again, very, very, very naval. We also got the comment about Earl Holliman from Policewoman, and I just mentioned Oscar Goldman from the guy who played Oscar Goldman. Obviously,
John
the
Anderson.
doctor, John Anderson, thank you. And the doctor for us is Rojan from the original series episode by
That's
any
right.
other name
That's right.
from the Kelvins,
That's right.
playing a much nicer role.
That's true. Bill says, you've seen a lot more of the Twilight Zone and the Outer Limits than I have.
I've seen it a lot.
I have seen it a lot.
I've seen them all.
Yeah, me too. Tony says, I got to see Forbidden Planet at the Plaza last year. It was awesome on the big screen. We were going to that, and I-20 got shut down, and we were trapped in traffic, and I had to sit there on I-20 watching the clock tick up while freaking Forbidden Planet was at the Spook Show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That would have been
Bill
fun.
says, I really miss Melody Muse and Johnny 3D hosting public domain movies and TV on Twitch. Twitch bots can't tell what's legal.
That's true. We know this very well.
Yep. And then Bill says, thanks to them, I was able to watch a lot of Twilight Zone and Outer Limits with other fans. That's awesome. That's fun. I love those live stream type things. Yeah, so let's get back into Forbidden Planet a bit. So Veronica, you bumped up against them telling Altair to put some clothes on because there's horny men around.
Yeah. And then the clothes she puts
and you're
on,
at my house. Go away.
I know, right? And the clothes that she puts on are just as revealing in the revealing parts. Like, I mean, she covers up her legs. That's it.
Yeah.
Like her arms and chest are still as uncovered as they were before.
Well, aside from that, what did you think about Altair?
It was interesting. They played her as kind of naive at the beginning.
But she's been living there with her dad on a planet for 20 years or 19 years.
Right, but she also seemed like not too long after that, she figured everything out.
Yeah.
And it was very fast figuring it out and very little any kind of innocence at all whatsoever. And I found it very strange how quickly she shifted over to not liking the guy. I mean, and that's the kind of a trope, the enemies to lovers type of thing.
Sure. That's happened to other things before?
Yes. It's a thing. It's usually fun to watch. But it was very, I felt it was very sudden. And it did not give time for that to develop as much as I would have liked.
Okay.
And then her just deciding to go with him was a little abrupt as well, and basically abandoned her father, who's like been the only person in her life for her entire life up until like 5 days ago.
Yeah, but I mean, you think part of that is she's grown up and wants to go out into the universe and not live on this planet with her dad her whole life?
Maybe.
Okay.
But she didn't seem to have any interest in that before.
Okay.
And she, even when they first got there, she was like, no, this is home. Why would I want to leave?
That's true.
Why are you, why?
Okay.
And I didn't see anything that happened to her or happened around her that would make her feel like, oh, there's more out there than that I want to learn about.
Okay. So,
I didn't see it, at least.
Now you saw something else in Altair, because you sort of guessed the ending incorrectly when at the end, when everyone became convinced it was Morbius causing the creature from the id, and you said it's obviously her.
Yeah.
So your theory was that Altair was actually causing the creature from the id.
Yeah.
What led you to that conclusion?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Hey Veronica, I bet I know what you are, because when the monster first attacked in that spectacular attack, she ran into Morbius, and she was complaining about nightmares and violent dreams and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I wrote, obviously since I know the ending, but I wrote a note is, are they pointing the finger at Altair at first?
I thought about the same thing watching it. And I liked your theory. It's a good theory. And they've talked for years about doing a remake of Forbidden Planet. I think they should do a sequel to Forbidden Planet, because she leaves with him in the end. And what if she does have some kind of connection to the creature from the id? What if there's something that we don't know? What if she can project the creature from the id and she's brought it now off of the planet? We can learn more about the Krell and have the creature in a city. And you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of opportunities there to continue the story.
Yeah.
Bill says, I was so sad when they zapped the tiger. I think in real life, in the future, the tiger would follow Altair, probably he means, around and roll on the floor like a house cat.
Yes. I did like that they used actual animals in this and didn't like CGI animate
Amen to
them at
that.
all.
Yeah, I'm glad they chose
Amen.
not to CGI the animals.
Well, not that
In
they could.
1956.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mark says, I loved Altera. All book smart at first, and then she becomes more human as she goes. She starts interacting with the men.
Too fast.
You know,
Hey, kissing will do
when
that.
yeah.
You were very naive until I kissed you, and then you became more
Okay.
human.
Okay.
Big Trek says, hard to tell 3 stories, love, monster, sci-fi, all at the same time within 90 minutes, I think.
Yes.
And that's true. That's true. Wayne says, whenever I see male-female interactions in the classic movies, I have flashbacks of Mad Men. True. And I think Mad Men took recontextualized a lot of the interactions that you see on old TV shows and things.
Yes.
And Wayne, that's a great comment because interesting, Mad Men is a show I didn't watch because I did not like, even though I'm not naive to those things. I got sick of the portrayals of the men. So that's an interesting comment you made, Wayne.
It's one of my favorite shows. I've watched it through several
it's a good show.
When the tiger attacked, maybe it was Altera's creature from the id. Good.
Well, I wondered.
Oh, Biggs Trek says, I'm making a sequel as an animated movie. 2 chapters done, more to follow.
Nice.
Yeah, throw the link in the chat if you don't mind. We'd love to see that.
Yeah.
And then Mark says there was a stage play a couple of decades ago called Return to the Forbidden Planet. It was a musical comedy.
Ooh,
a musical comedy on Forbidden Planet.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd love to see a straight sequel.
Yeah.
Which I mean is a long shot at this point. I think it's kind of a long gap since the original movie. But no, I mean I thoroughly enjoyed watching this. Again, obviously it's one of my favorite movies, and I picked it, so that's not a huge leap to say that I enjoyed watching it. I mean, I've got the metal 10 box set that I got years back that came with like lobby cards and a little Robbie the Robot inside and that kind of stuff. But I mean, a lot of it's extraordinary to see a movie of this era putting this much care into science fiction.
Yes.
And even those scenes when they go into the Krell laboratories in the bottom, like the big, and the scale is magnificent. And then watching it, and you're you know, obviously they're placed there. You know, they do a great job of matching them up with the matte paintings. But then the camera moves as they're walking, so they had to have planned for that. You know what I mean? It's like they're engineering camera moves in this huge shot. It's just extraordinary the amount of time and care they put into this. And you mentioned the electronic score. There's no other movie I've ever seen that has a score like Forbidden Planet.
Right.
I think the score for this film is absolutely unique.
And you had mentioned something in the opening credits about how they weren't even listed as
No,
composers.
they were credited for like electric tonalities or something like that. Like, we can't really call this music, but then they tie it in the story, and that's like the music of the Krell. You know, like, I mean, I think it's extraordinary. It's like this movie, like Planet of the Apes, is similar, where it has a very distinctive score that really suits it. That's very experimental for a big budget picture like this. You could have very easily have just gone with a regular orchestral score for this.
It's amazing you said that, Charles. In my notes, I wrote, this reminds me of that pulsating score from Planet of the Apes, that background music, which was running all throughout that. Also, you chose anniversaries. You probably didn't choose both these movies for the unique soundtrack, because you can't think of the Earth Stood Still without the theremin.
Yeah.
And you can't think of this movie without the fantastic, funky electronic music running through the whole score.
And this is back when you couldn't just do a synth and make weird, like they had to like create weird electronic sounds with whatever tools and devices and things they could come up with. And then like replay the tape and slow it down and speed it up. And like it was very much manually created. And I think it's extraordinary.
Absolutely.
All right. So Bill says, instead of Walter Pigeon, an actual pigeon on the Muppet Show with pigs in space, and the id monster mistakes the saucer for a statue and poops on it.
You just mentioned one of my favorite skits and one of my favorite shows of all time, Pigs in Space.
And then Bill says, Big Trek, I want to see it. Talking about that animated Forbidden Planet. Wayne says, Return to Forbidden Planet. Didn't it blow? Never mind.
I
didn't get it.
I don't get it because I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. And then Mark says, There was a Babylon 5 episode where they played homage to the Krell powerhouse, A Voice in the Wilderness.
Is that where they talked about the great machine on the planet that was doing all the cool stuff, I guess?
Yeah, and is that Zahadum? We just recently watched through Babylon 5, but we watched through it so quick it's now kind of a blur.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're talking about, remember the great machine that was on the planet that Babylon 5 orbited, and it was the one that generated
the beard was in there.
Yeah, and it generated the energy for the ship to do time travel. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's never seen B5, but yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
And Wayne says he agrees. It's a very thoughtful movie.
Very.
Yeah, and I said the portrayals of the sailors, I'm going to call them, or the spacemen, is dated. You know, that's obviously people who've recently been through World War II. This is only 10 years after World War II. So that obviously that's for the audience, and that makes a lot of sense to the audience. It's one of those things that doesn't hold up now. It's a bunch of horny white guys we haven't seen a woman in 18 months, and now if we see legs, we're gonna go crazy. But there was a lot of good characterization of them. Like I love Cookie, the chef. He was great, and I loved his little B story with Robbie.
Yes.
Although, like the number 2 guy was real quick to like just turn the fence off and let him go wandering around this planet. And I don't know how he was going to get this like 60 gallons in bottles back to the ship. He's like put them in his pockets. Like
there's no way that stuff's going to end up on the ship. Yeah,
right.
No way. And I love the little scene when they were chastising him, and he said, basically, you got falling down drunk, and he goes, I hope you don't think I can get that blinkered in 5 minutes or something like that.
Offended.
Yeah. Also, what was funny was Robbie was a great straight man against Earl Holliman's joking around.
Yeah.
Just the way they talk when he got it. And I love the man's voice. What do you say? Will 60 gallons be sufficient? Earl Holland almost choked on that. And then he drinks it. He's like, ooh, smooth too. Also, did you notice that Robbie's analysis of Cookie's liquor, he mentioned fuel was part of it?
Yeah.
I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah, it's almost like I'm just went blank on what it's called.
Hooch?
Yeah, like whatever.
Moonshine?
They make
moonshine.
Yeah. They put everything in there, rusty nails, whatever's around, gasoline. Right. Yeah. I love that.
All right, let's take a quick break for a promo. Alan's not here, so I'm going to play one of his, and so then we'll be back in about 30 seconds. And we're back.
Something else we were talking about so much about, Veronica, how it's not a surprise to you, especially anybody who's watched Star Trek and stuff. But, Charles, you were mentioning how this was so unique back in the 50s. Did you listen to all the astrogation, navigation, scientific stuff when they approached the planet? For Star Trek viewers, that's nothing new. They talked about the temperature. They talked about the gravity of the planet. He told him to plot basically an insertion orbit around the planet. They talked about turning off the artificial gravity. That was very rare because we've all watched those 1940s kind of science fiction movies where it kind of sounds goofy. And it's real weird. How does one science fiction movie say the same gobbledygook and sound cool, and the other one sound kind of goofy? This sounded real.
But this one, they treated the space cruiser as if it was a naval ship with a naval crew. Which you didn't get a lot. A lot of times it was like, fire the rockets, like the Flash Gordon kind of, and then you see the clouds going by the spaceship as if they're in space. But it wasn't a lot of this where they sort of took the world seriously. And I'm sure that a lot of people working on this were veterans because at that time, everyone in Hollywood in the 50s and 60s were veterans of some kind.
Right.
Just happened. All right, let's grab a comment real quick.
Okay.
Mark says, yes, the Great Machine.
From B5.
That's right. Bill says, Keith, that's because ethanol can be used as fuel.
I wondered about that, but yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Biggs Trek says, I think Forbidden Planet was the first time interstellar travel was portrayed in a movie.
It may be that they got the stuff right, because if you even look at old Twilight Zones, they'll have a planet and they'll literally say, we came 1,000,000 miles from our planet to yours. Like, what? What do you mean? Like, middle of space. Even the data Ursa still got the math wrong.
Yeah, he didn't come very far.
Right. But they literally, another thing that reminds you of Star Trek, or Star Trek reminds you of this, they talked about the 18-month journey. Well, what did they say in the cage / the menagerie? They talked about how long it took those people to get there, but how Pike's ship got there much faster. And I also like the fact that they talked about this service. They talked about other planets. So it wasn't just one spaceship. Like you said, Charles, this is a Navy. This is a group of people, humans, they're out there, they're colonizing, they're exploring. And he even said, we have come out here to check on you. How many times did Star Trek go somewhere to check on a colony or to bring food or medical attention? Absolutely treat it seriously.
Yeah. And they have very naval-looking, futuristic, but naval-looking uniforms.
Yeah.
Almost like sailor outfits, but in the future. And then they have, I guess, the Class B or whatever, where it's the more collared shirt that is buttoned down. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful attention to detail. And then Mark says, Communication Officer Quinn had an earpiece just like Uhura did.
I missed that.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah. Well, Kronk, I'm glad you enjoyed this movie.
Yes.
I did. Yeah, me too.
After the debacle we had last week. Just kidding.
Something else I like, Leslie Nielsen's Commander, I love the way he kept addressing the ship over the intercom. And I remember in the cage, what Captain Pike would do, address intercraft. You remember he'd do that little thing, and how many times in the original series did Kirk talk to the crew like, "Hey, we're about to go dive, but we got to do this thing." Right. I love the way he kept doing the orders through the intercom system like that.
Yeah. This is a comparatively small ship compared to the Enterprise. You know, and there's 18 crewmen on board.
Right.
But obviously it's small enough where they can land, which is nice. But I mean, this movie had a big impact on Star Trek, right? Yeah. Like the cage is almost like a TV version of Forbidden Planet, maybe almost 10 years later.
Right.
But you can see, I mean, if you watch this back to back with the cage, and you can see a lot of the influence directly there. Where, I mean, I think they did a great job of adapting, but also it makes you kind of wistful to see like a 60s Star Trek movie. Like what they have done with the Star Trek universe on the big screen, where you compare like Talos 4 to Altair 4, and like just the scale of it is so much larger,
Veronica, quick question for you again, because you mentioned Altera, and I was wondering how you think about her. Do you think she honestly served any real purpose? I'm not saying she was useless, but did she really serve a purpose in the show? Because to me, the only thing I wrote that knocks this down a bit is she really was. I don't think she was very helpful, and I agree with you. It always surprised me how many movies and TV shows could fix something by simply saying, instead of "we've been here for 3 days, we've been here for 3 weeks" or something like that. Because at the end of the show, you're right. She says, "I've joined to you body and soul," and blah blah blah. Like, wait, what? You just met him like 2 days ago, and Morgan's like, "Please do not deny him. He's gonna kill you." She's, "No, I love you, darling." And like, where did that come from?
Yeah,
weird.
Right. But I mean, also the first men she's ever met that weren't her dad,
Yeah.
So I don't give them a lot of chances long term.
I feel like if her character had not been there at all, the romance aspect would have just been removed, and that's it. I feel like it wouldn't have changed any. No plot points would have been changed.
Okay.
Because her character. There was nothing that her character did or that the captain did that would have changed the plot if she weren't there.
Yeah, I don't think it would change the plot, but as far as a piece of cinema,
yes,
it gives something more human for the conflict to be over than just the abstracts of the planet, right?
Yes,
because they both care about Altera in different ways.
Yeah,
and I mean, obviously, Requiem for Methuselah echoes a lot of Forbidden Planet, right?
Or are we thinking alike? Yeah.
I
had the same thought.
Yeah. Now that doesn't mean it's a great role for a woman in the movies to be the thing that the men, it's the humanizing thing for the men's conflict,
Especially when Jerry just started kissing on her. That was a little creepy.
Yeah, and because she's 19. Like, now Jerry's probably 25. I don't know how old Jerry was, but like, buddy.
Yeah.
Right. Go back to your bunk.
Yeah.
Mark says the C-57D is the futuristic stand-in for World War II's C-47 cargo planes.
Ah,
Interesting. I wish I could have asked my dad about that because my dad flew on C-130s.
really?
He was a naval reservist for 18 years.
Oh, okay.
Tiger Blade 2002, Wayne
Mhm.
says, in the day the Earth stood still, I giggled when they said the alien
Yes.
ship flying around the Earth at the fantastic speed of 400 miles an hour.
It was 4,000, but I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still slow for an alien spaceship.
Yeah. Also, to follow what Mark was saying, obviously, we keep talking about this. Obviously, the flying saucer in this movie, along with a couple of others like Earth versus the Flying Saucers and so forth, absolutely influenced Gene Roddenberry's thought process of what he wanted a ship to look like. We've all seen the original. Was it the Yorktown, the original version of the Enterprise?
Yeah, they went through a few, but the Yorktown was one, and they played with a lot of concepts in the concept art.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the brilliant thing about the final version of the Enterprise is that it incorporates both rocket ship and flying saucer aesthetics into it, but in a way that feels more plausible and more its own thing. You know what
exactly. I mean? And this movie was one of the movies that absolutely made Gene Roddenberry keep going back to a flying saucer.
Oh, yeah.
And him and Matt Jeffries.
Mark says, Altair probably grew up reading fairy tales and romance novels which featured love at first sight.
Yeah, but where did she get those? There's no way a science...
Maybe her mom packed them. Maybe she was reading Krell romance novels.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
And Bill says, Chuck, the C-130 is still an amazing plane used all around the world in many roles. Yeah, my dad was a loadmaster on C-130s.
Wow, okay.
He always said he was in the Navy, but he couldn't tie a knot, but he could ratchet strap anything to anything else. Because he was in the airplane. He was in the airplane Navy.
Yeah. Something else I thought we were talking about them taking the show seriously. I love it when the captain and the doctor, and oh, by the way, a doctor as the main confidant of the captain. Boy, does that not seem familiar? Right. I love it when the guy on the ship said, basically, do you mind showing us that you're safe? I love that little protocol that they did there. Remember, he actually did a visual to make sure like there were no like aliens or somebody pointing a ray gun at him. Yeah, that was really cool.
That's the sort of thing would be helpful in Star Trek from time to time. Like, okay, you're saying everything's fine. Let me see.
Right.
Otherwise, we're gonna be coming packing ray guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Biggs Trek says, "LOL at the thought of Krell love books."
Oh no! I'll probably need to Google that tonight carefully.
Carefully.
Because also, you remember they said the Krell had a different shape that I thought of as maybe crustacean, crab-like. So I don't know if I want to see what somebody might have drawn in the Krell love story.
Was it Rule 34? It's out there somewhere, I'm sure. So, Veronica, what did you think of the creature from the id? The concept as well as the execution?
I like the concept.
Okay.
I thought the execution was really good, although they kind of made it look a bit too much like an Earth creature, but I guess that makes sense because it's an id from a human.
Yeah.
But also bipedal. It's like a bipedal bull almost.
Yeah. It looked more like a lion in the
maybe
imaging.
we're each seeing what's in our id.
You know what? I always see grizzly bear or polar bear.
See?
Interesting.
But you know what? What's interesting, and Veronica, going on what you said, what I loved it was the doc said it could not exist in real life as what it was. So yes, it was patched together from his imagination and his id. Because remember, he said the toes are wrong; they're like arboreal for like a sloth. But it was like there's something weird with it. I also love them. Here we go again. I love them talking about the science because they start talking about the creature would have to be made of some kind of nuclear material, as is the Krell metal. All those who know Star Trek know we're talking pure neutronium. I thought that was kind of cool that they mentioned that.
Wow. Yeah. And I thought the doctor did a great job casting that foot from that footprint.
Oh yeah, they got plaster Paris on the ship.
Big 3D foot.
I know. And then he goes, "Well, this is as near as I can get it." I'm like, "As near as you can get it."
Pretty good, bud.
Yeah.
Bill says Wayne says every time I rode on a C-130, my body vibrated for hours after.
Really? Oh, that's right. Because Charles is a Marine, so he's done that.
Oh, Wayne is a Marine.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes. Mark says, Captain, Doctor, First Officer as the landing party. Am I talking Forbidden Planet or Star Trek?
Yeah.
Yeah. Both is true. Although Mr. Spock would have conducted himself in a more professional manner than that first officer did.
Yeah.
Kissing on the 19-year-olds.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Spock just tells Droxine about his love cycle, his mating cycle. Other than that, one other thing I thought was kind of cool. I thought it was quaint by our times Robbie speaks 157 languages. I thought that was quaint because, you know, nowadays it'd be like I speak 15,000, like he's C-3PO or something.
Right.
And what I love is Morbius built Robbie with something akin to the laws of robotics.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't care what. If somebody tells a robot to point a ray gun at me, I was like, dude, seriously?
Yeah, no.
That's the best way you have to test this thing. Oh, okay. Mark says Spock of Strange New Worlds will be all over Altair.
Oh, that's true. And why'd you have to bring that up, Mark?
Touché.
Thanks, Mark.
No, I like the creature from the Id. I think, I mean, it looks cartoony. But I think it looks great though. I think the animation works really well, and it's not supposed to be an actual physical monster, right? It's a physical sort of creation from someone's mind. So I can buy the sort of, like I said, Fantasia sort of look of the creature, but I think it holds up really well. I mean, as far as special effects go, there's a lot of visual effects of that era that don't look as good 70 years later as the ones in this movie did. You know,
what I love is the work they did. For example, when you see the sand, we now know being depressed or compressed under the massive weight of the creature, and they're playing that funky music, and then even the steps of the
which are later perfectly fine.
Oh, I missed that. Really?
Yeah.
I missed that part.
They never mentioned that the steps were indented. They just talk about the sand.
Interesting. Something else that's very familiar to those of us who've watched all this science fiction, they put up a perimeter force field just like in Lost in Space. Well, remember they used to put the force field emitter out front? They turn it on every night.
Yeah, you can see a lot of this movie in Lost in Space and Star Trek and Star Wars. Even the thing about Robbie being fluent in all the languages, that made me immediately think of C-3PO, you know, because those guys saw this film, right? If you're into science fiction, how is this not a touch point, you know? And until it's probably the biggest touch point for people making science fiction up until 2001 came out. And then the sort of visual language of sci-fi on television changed. And then again, when Star Wars came out, and you could sort of tell what the latest big sci-fi movie was a lot of times by seeing the sci-fi that was made in between on television, you know? Where Battlestar Galactica looks more like Star Wars, Space 1999 looks more like 2001, Lost in Space and Star Trek look more like Forbidden Planet.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Something that gave me a chuckle, Robbie just always gave me a chuckle because he's super strong. Like when he said that metal was only like 10 tons and he's carrying it with one arm. And he's almost like Spock with a dry sense of humor. But I tell you what makes me laugh every single time, I don't know why, is when they like see this dust cloud approaching the ship, and then Robbie kind of sidles up in that little truck thing he's driving. It's just great.
Okay, so that's the other thing. Came up in this thing, and then the three of them go off, but there's clearly two seats. And he came up, and there's this dust cloud, and obviously dust cloud would not affect Robbie, so that doesn't matter. Although it can get into all of his circuits, so I don't know why it doesn't affect him. But they had these little, the little things in front of the seats,
the
windshields in front of the two seats.
Yeah, the doctor got screwed. He's like the whole time.
But they arrive, and there's no problem. None of them are covered in any kind of dust.
Well, was Robbie in front of him though?
Yeah,
Robbie was in the center in the front, so maybe Robbie's blocking the dust.
I don't buy that.
As fast as that thing was going, it was great though. And then they had I also love they had the supersonic subway like I first saw in, was it Earth 2 or Planet Earth? Genesis 2. Genesis 2, I think it was.
But I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's a good detail that they don't even really comment on that they have a 2-seater car that Robbie drives, and then there's 2 seats, because why would there be a 3rd seat? You know, they're the only people on this planet. You know what I mean? So they don't even comment on it. Just they take the seats, and the doctor just sort of perches himself on the back. But it makes perfect sense in the story that you would have a 2-seat car, right? Why would they have a 3rd seat?
I didn't even think about that. Something that got to me that was poignant once they got around all the kissing Altair stuff is I do like the fact that Morbius is not quote unquote evil. I love that. Not really. He's not like a mad scientist. And something that to this day always gets me, I don't know why, it's just when Morbius looks up on the hill and he said, I buried everyone up there with my hands. Something about that always gets to me. And I love the fact that he wasn't just cranky. When he told them to stay away, he's like, I don't know what happened, but I want you. I'm trying to protect you.
And when they get defensive later about being in danger, he's like, I told you not to come to this planet. I begged you not to come here. What do you get mad at me for?
And you stayed, even after you checked to confirm that we were fine, which is what you wanted to do. You didn't leave.
Yeah. If you don't want to be in danger, do what I say. And that's a lot of Star Trek. Whatever you do, don't approach the planet. And well, I guess we're going to the planet anyway.
Yeah, and
our
bring
orders
down.
are to go to the
Yeah,
planet. You know,
and let's bring down the entire command staff while we're at it. Yeah,
right? Well, they brought down the entire crew. They don't have a transporter.
yeah, that's true.
I like Morbius a lot. I like at the
Mhm.
beginning when he's explaining Robbie, and they're like, he's amazing. He's like, yeah, I cobbled him together. Child's play.
Yeah.
The most advanced robot you've ever seen.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they said that even Morbius, with all of his well, he was twice human intelligence at least. Well, he was twice genius intelligence.
Yeah.
That he was basically like a 7-year-old Krell, maybe.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
7 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna grab a couple comments real quick because we're coming up towards the end. Bill says there used to be other humans on the planet, so there would have been a use for more seats originally. It depends when they built that car thing.
And then there's a comment from Big Streck.
Big Streck. I think Robbie built the vehicle after the other humans were gone.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
I could be wrong.
Died quickly.
But yeah, no, I think so too. I think a lot of this tech. I don't think that house was there. Robbie wasn't there. The car wasn't there back in the days of the spaceship.
Yeah.
Mark says Morbius was not a bad guy. With his dying breath, he called Commander Adams' son.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a bad guy too, but he fell victim to his hubris. And you know, he's a scientist in a sci-fi movie, so his quest for knowledge will be his undoing. You know, his obsession with finding the answers. Because he could have easily said, you know what, guys, I've been on this planet 19 years. I'll go back with you. Let's bring some specialists here and study this stuff for real. And not like, I'm the master of this world, which is kind of Morbius, you know. Only I can hold the secrets of the Krell.
But yeah, and even then, I agree with you. He was wrong, but I also get how he came to that point because the technology there, like you said, Charles. I've seen this a million times. Every time I see that, and when he says 20 miles, I'm like, holy crap! A 8,000 cubic foot fusion engine. That's 8,000 cubic mile. So he was but is that not yet another Star Trek thing or any kind of progressive science fiction or thoughtful science fiction, which was there's too much power there for humans. And also, I kind of get what he was saying because he was like the Krell were a million years at least ahead of us and they destroyed themselves. There's always that thing of, is humankind ready for that power? Sargon in Star Trek, when their mental powers reached a certain point. Also, another thing that it was new then, but now is very familiar to us, a race of beings that want to move away from their corporeal bodies. I mean, my God, I think Star Trek's all about becoming energy at some point.
There was literally an entire species in Stargate that it lasted for a long portion of the entirety of SG-1.
The
Atlantis.
Ancients?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I would love if Star Trek, I mean, even when they got into the movies, didn't try to do science fiction, thoughtful science fiction like this on the scale, aside from the motion picture. You really don't get thoughtful science fiction. You get, shoot 'em ups and Moby Dick in space and that kind of stuff, and political thrillers and those sort of adventures. But I mean, just the sort of the mind blowing scale where you have to sort of wrap your mind around the sci-fi concept. You don't get a lot. You get it with V'ger and wonderfully with V'ger. But beyond the first movie, they really never go back to that as far as, big sci-fi concepts,
That's very true.
And I like the Star Trek movies, but I mean, watching this, it made me think, I'd love to see Star Trek do this kind of story on this kind of scale. My first thought was the original series because, obviously the planets and the planetscapes in the original series were similar, but much, much smaller. Right. And didn't have the scope that this had. But they could have, if they'd done that on a feature budget. And then, like I said, when they got to the features, you had the one shot at it with the motion picture. And then after that, they went more of the safe route and brought the budget down and did more, hell's hard, I stab at thee kind of Star Trek movies,
I think that's very true because nowadays when you think about science fiction and thoughtful, insightful science fiction, you think about not really Star Trek, but you think about guys like Christopher Nolan and Denny, I'm talking about the guy who did Dune. Villeneuve. Yeah, you think about guys like that, but you don't really think about Star Trek like that much anymore. Not for movies. Yeah,
or even Project Hail Mary had some bigger budget or bigger scale sort of sci-fi ideas in it. Biggs Trek says, question, was that Krell machine 20 miles by 20 miles the only one on the planet?
I was trying to get that down too, because I always thought there were several of them. I felt
like that was the only one he had explored because there was so much to learn at that one. So why would you bother to go find the others?
Because when he said 20 miles by 20 miles, he also said there were 400 other shafts just like that shaft.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that he made 400 other 20 by 20 shafts, or was that 20 by 20 facility, containing inside it 400 shafts? I couldn't get that one right. I used to, my entire life, I thought there was 400 of those facilities around the planet. I wasn't quite sure this one time listening to that.
Okay. Wayne says, question for everyone. Before Forbidden Planet, did the crews of other sci-fi movies before it use nautical language? And I think no, because I don't think you really had crews of spaceships before this. You would have like the Buck Rogers, where you have like the professor who built the ship, or Flash Gordon. You know what I mean? But you really didn't have like a crew on a starship or a spaceship like this prior to Forbidden Planet. I can't think of an example. Can you?
There's a couple that I'll have to look up to see. My brother watches an old black and white show, space show on TV. I mean, on YouTube, that has the standard, the cool projectile shaped rocket ship.
Yeah, like a Captain Video kind of a thing.
Yeah, but I can't remember exactly when that was done.
Yeah, or Rocky Jones Space Ranger. But I don't remember if that came out before this or after this.
Same here.
Yeah.
Charles, do you remember? Space. Did you ever watch the series Space Angel?
Mm-hmm.
The cartoon with the guy who had the eye patch.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
cartoon. You're using a little loosely there, but yes.
Yeah, yes, because it has that weird whatever that the other show you
Vox thing or whatever, where it's just mouths over paintings.
You know what? To answer your question, Wayne, even that Space Angel, for those who don't know, it's about a trio of space adventurers who are reporting to some kind of military type force back on Earth. The main, the lead and the pilot has an eye patch. Mm-hmm. That was 6 years after this movie.
Yeah, that was early 60s.
Yeah, so I think the answer is probably this may be one of the first, if not the first.
Yeah, at least in cinema, because even like Rocky Jones and stuff was like for television.
Mm-hmm.
There may have been in radio plays.
Yeah, maybe in radio plays. You may have rocket ship crews and that sort of thing. Literary sci-fi.
Real quick, I want to do something real quick that I know I typically never do. Charles, you're talking about a sequel. I was thinking about a remake or rewrite of this movie. Is there any one little thing you might change? For me, the only little thing I do is I would change the Altair story, and I would probably take her out and have his wife still be alive. And then have her finally turn on her husband, and then it menaces his wife. I would just take the Altair story out. How about you? If anything.
Yeah, narratively, I would flesh out the crew a little more. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't just be 18 white dudes. You know what I mean? Have a more diverse crew than what they had. And and they tried to pull the whole thing on Star Trek too, where they, like in Mudd's Women, where it's like a woman on the ship. Look, a third of your crew are women in mini skirts, buddy. I think you're going to be, you know what I mean? So it didn't really work there. But I don't think it worked here either. But I'm like you. I would flesh out Altera. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'd love to see more of the story of the Krell. I'd like to have found out more about them.
Me too. Mm-hmm. How about you, Veronica? If anything.
I have no idea.
I would like to see the Krell, because it's kind of weird that we don't know what they look like. I guess they didn't record their own appearance, or maybe he hasn't tapped into that part of the computer yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bill says, "Oh, I love Space Angel. I first saw it on 1961 on my paternal grandparents' TV. It was a dreamlike experience."
It is. It's a great show.
And then Mark says, in prose and radio, they had rocket ship crews based on earthbound navies.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's my expectation too. I mean, I know for a fact because I've heard it in like radio plays, but I don't know about cinema. I think in cinema, this was a first. Unless someone can find an example that I'm not thinking of.
Well, I think you guys are right. You and Wayne are right, because this movie was so revolutionary and such a groundbreaker. Also, Veronica, I checked, the movie costs around $2 million, which nowadays people like that's an indie movie, but $2 million in modern money is $30 million, which is still
cheap for a movie.
Yeah, that's cheap for a movie now.
Movies,
yeah. But for a science fiction movie that was doing so much unusual stuff, because it doesn't have a lot of action, it doesn't have a fast-paced plot. There's a lot of walking and talking. That's think about that.
And you see, Commander, if you look over here, if I remade this movie, there would be fewer Morbius's Wonderful World of Disney on the Krell planet. You know what I mean? And sort of introduce these ideas in more of an organic way,
Right.
than giving the audience a 10-minute tour of the Krell facility.
Right. Same here.
And you see, if you pull the lever, and all,
Yeah. That kind of reminded me of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea when Nemo was touring the ship. And I remember Nemo showed them what we now know as nuclear power on the submarine. And I love when he showed them his power source. And he said, man does not look upon the Gorgon and live.
Right.
Cool.
And then Biggs Trek said, no Krell selfies allowed.
I guess not.
Well, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Next week, we're getting back to Star Trek. We're going to be talking about the Reginald Barclay episodes.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Next Thursday. And we didn't specify whether it's just TNG or Voyager as well, but I'm going to focus primarily on TNG because there's a lot of Voyager ones. There's, what did you say, 5 TNGs and 8 Voyagers?
7.
With Barclay?
With Barclay.
Wow.
Yeah. And even if you include the First Contact, where he was in First Contact, he's still on Voyager more.
Wow. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So next week's going to be Mr. Broccoli. We'll be discussing Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. But in the meantime, Keith, where can people find more of you?
You can find me on Facebook, primarily the ESO Network Facebook groups.
And how about us, Veronica?
FeltNerdy.com.
That's right. If you go to Felt Nerdy across social media or feltnerdy.com, you can find our all ages and family-friendly puppet stuff. And right now we're done with shows for a bit, and we're going to spend the summer getting ready for Dragon Con. Or you can go to Felt Nerdy and Dirty and watch our adult puppetry material, which we've got quite a bit of, and it's quite a bit adult.
Yes.
And we just finished up at Frolicon and did the most adult thing probably we've done on stage, or you did.
Yep.
So that's a lot of fun. So come to our Frolicon show next year if you want to see that sort of thing. And where else will find us?
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
That's right, where we go live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about the monkeys and related topics. And we've got a lot of fun shows coming up. We're actually scheduled out through like the end of August at this point with show ideas and guests and all kind of things. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice.
And Veronica, do you have a closing for us this week?
Zap, zap.
Perfect. Bye, everybody.
Thanks all.